Okay, we are live on YouTube and live on Zoom. Oh, we already have individuals watching us on YouTube, so that's awesome. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at in the world and joining us today. I think most of you know my name is Alyssa, and I'm the Director of International Recruitment and Communications. And today we're going to talk about, I think, the usually number one question I get about orientation, registration, and what's going to happen. Um, so I am not the expert on that. So I have invited two very important people that you will all meet. And so I am going to let Sarah and Paulina introduce themselves and talk about what their part of the process is.
Excellent. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. As Alyssa said, my name is Sarah Granberg Rademacher. I serve as the Director of University Advising, and it's my team of folks that you all are going to be meeting when you come through the orientation process in August. So stay tuned for a little bit more detail than that, but academic advisors are here to walk you through the registration process as well as many other things along your journey at Minnesota State Mankato.
Hi everyone, my name is Paulina. With Alyssa, I work at the KIC and I'm excited to get to meet all of you during orientation and throughout your time at MSU Mankato. I work in all of the programming for international students, so we'll plan lots of really fun events for all of you during orientation and throughout the semester when you're here. So yeah, we're excited that you're joining us this fall.
Great. So today we do have a pretty planned agenda. We're going to talk about registration. If you have questions about what we're presenting, there is a Q&A box here in Zoom. If you're joining on YouTube, there's also a Q&A function there, so you can put your questions there. We will answer them when appropriate. So if it makes sense to answer it during that slide, we'll answer the question. But if it's not relevant to what we're talking about at the moment, it will be answered at the end of the session. We are also focused on registration today, so please hold any of your questions that pertain to visas, I-20s, any of those things. We can talk about that at a different time. So with that, I'll hand it over. Sarah, you get the center of the stage now.
Well, thank you. So hopefully you can all see my slides. I am going to walk you through what the academic advising support will look like when you're getting to that registration stage and the orientation process. And so I've broken this up into three different areas: before you come to orientation, during, and then after. And that'll hopefully walk you through most of it. But as you have questions, as Alyssa said, please type them in the chat, pull them forward so that we can do our best to answer those as well. Before you come to campus, those of you who are brand new to the university setting, who don't have any transfer work coming in, I'm telling you, you don't need any additional steps from our lens. However, if you are transferring college coursework, university coursework from a U.S. institution, please make sure that we have an official transcript sent to MSU. Sometimes when you're applying to MSU, you have submitted that document, but it maybe doesn't have all of your courses on it at that point, or it doesn't have your courses with final grades on it because you applied in February and you didn't finish those courses until May. So please make sure you get us an official transcript sent to us. From there, our registration and academic records office will evaluate it. Sometimes we will also work with faculty to have them evaluate your coursework for how it counts in your major. So you want to make sure you get those official transcripts with final grades sent to our registrar's office if you are transferring in credits from a U.S. institution. If you are transferring in coursework from outside the U.S., we want you to be working with my colleagues in Kearney International Center to have your international credits evaluated. And they have worked hard to develop a process that will allow you to get those credits evaluated through ECE, the Educational Credentials. Well, the group that does that. I can't remember what ECE stands for right now, y'all.
I don't remember either, but it's ECE and that's good info. I think we're good.
Well, and ECE, what they do is their specialty is to look at those international credits and tell our university how they count. And so, like I said, the Kearney International Center has worked with them to develop a plan to get your credits evaluated specifically for Minnesota State Mankato. And if you were to go out on ECE's website right now, you'd see that it costs a good deal of money to do that. It will not cost you as much to do that through their processes because of the fact that your credits are being evaluated specifically for Minnesota State Mankato, and they've negotiated a better rate. So if you are bringing in transfer credits from an international institution, please stay tuned for more information from Kearney about next steps with that. I do have a link on the site right now that you see. You can use that link to submit some information. Know that they are in process of changing this to make it even a better process for you all. So if you submit something there, they may ask you to submit materials again. You will be asked specifically for uploading copies of your transcripts and your course syllabi. That just helps us ensure that we are looking at your courses from as many perspectives as possible. We want to award credit where it's helping you out. And so we want to make sure that you get those credits brought across. Now, regardless of whether or not you are transferring credits or you aren't transferring credits, one of the things I'd encourage you to do is really get out there ahead of time to look at your program requirements. The academic programs and your graduation requirements are outlined in our catalog. There's a link on my screen that shows you how to get to the catalog, but probably the easiest thing to do is go to the MSU homepage and in the search bar type catalog. The catalog looks like this. It's literally a screen that is organized alphabetically by the name of your major, your minor, and so forth. You also see that there's graduation requirements that are outlined here as well. But this is a really useful tool, and where I think you would be best served is by jumping into this tool and looking at the program you intend to major in. So for example, maybe you're looking at computer information technology. If you select C, you'll get a list of all the programs. You select the computer information technology one, and what you'll see here is a brief summary that tells you here's the catalog you're following, that you're going for a Bachelor of Science degree, and that this major requires 55 credits and 120 credits total for your degree. On the side here, it starts going through the program requirements, including required general courses that you have to take. General education courses are really a hallmark of the U.S. education system. They're meant to add some breadth to your degree. With a lot of my international colleagues, I realize that that's not typical in a lot of international institutions where you're more focused specifically just on what you're studying. But a U.S. bachelor's degree is meant to give you some broad information, and that includes some of your general education requirements. But if you go and you look at these courses and you're like, well, what's that class about? Or what's all of this about? You can literally click on those arrows and it will open up information about the courses. So you can read about the courses required for your program. You can see if they require any prerequisites, courses you need to have in advance of taking that course. You also see this one here. It says it comes in goal area Gen Ed or GE 9. That's where we're making sure that you're taking care of all the different goal areas or gen eds that you need. But you can see a lot of information in the catalog, and I strongly encourage you, go out there, take a look at it. You can also click on the 4-year plan. You can see all sorts of information that will help you start to understand better the requirements that you're looking at. If you are looking at requirements and you're looking at them and going, oh boy, this is not what I thought it was, I'm looking for something else, you can be looking now at those things, and that will help us out a great deal as you move forward. Here's a sample of the 4-year plan that really is meant to walk through, provide some guidance for what you're going to need for your time here. So for example, you see in the computer information technology 4-year plan, first semester, they want to make sure you have English composition, which is foundations of writing and rhetoric. They want to make sure you have college algebra You have to have those courses. And then they say they want you to have 15 credits. And if we go over here, we see this equals 8 credits. And so there will be additional coursework you're taking. But the 4-year plan really starts putting those classes together in a space to show you what you're going to need to do to graduate.
Sarah, we
Yeah.
have a question, and it actually, I think, fits in really nicely with that last portion. So someone says they were looking at the automotive engineering technology page and there's no 4-year plan. So in that case, how do they know what their 4-year pathway is, or do you have recommendations?
Absolutely. Great question. Some of our programs are in transition with their 4-year plans, and we are actually advising is pushing on them some to make sure that we have good 4-year plans that kind of help students walk through. Automotive engineering technology, I believe that part of the reason they don't have a 4-year plan up right now is they're transitioning from just being a technology program to being a professional engineering program. And so with that transition comes the whole idea of we have to make sure that the plans are updated accordingly. And so I imagine they took that one off with the hope that most students coming in are going to come in and join the automotive engineering program. Though I will tell you, if you go to the automotive engineering program, you're probably also not going to see a 4-year plan at this point. Please don't worry. It doesn't mean that there isn't a plan. There's no way to get through. It just means that folks haven't necessarily done all of the things that they need to on our end to get those uploaded. The advisors will still know the information you need and will be able to give you some tools to help walk you through the 4 years.
Thank you.
Great question, though. Whoever
Yeah.
asked, good job. And I'm glad you're looking. So,
Yeah, encouraging.
absolutely. So this kind of comes to some things you could do before you come to orientation, right? You getting your credits transferred if you have them, looking at the catalog to start making sense of things. During your orientation, we want to tell you a few more things. You're going to check in, and very shortly after check-in, you're going to talk to somebody about your math and English placement. The reason we do that when we do that is we want to make sure that we have some information so that when you're registering later in the week, that we can help you out. Now you're going to get the option, and Alyssa and Paulina, correct me if I'm misstating anything, but you will have the option to do the placement tests online before you come to orientation. Whenever you can do that, please do it. It helps you out, so you're not coming in stressed. It helps you out because you're not taking this test in a jet-lagged environment. It helps out just across the board. If you do not do math or English placement remotely while you're still at home, that's one of the first things that we're going to guide you to be aware of and probably jump in to do. We don't want to, we understand that you may be exhausted when you get here. The hard part is we need that information to figure out what classes you want to take your first semester. English and math are essential for all of our students, and particularly students whose majors really rely on math, as a lot of our international students do. So please make sure if you can take that placement test ahead of time, great. If you can't, just know that you're going to come in and you're going to talk to somebody about what you're planning on majoring in, where we have you placed right now, given other test scores or GPA information. And then you're going to hear whether or not you should still take the placement test. So the placement test is not something that you have to worry about the grade you get kind of thing. It is literally meant to help us understand what class might be best for you to take to get your skills up to the level that you need. Some of you may be encouraged to take English 100 before you take English 101, for example. Others of you won't be. But the best thing you can do for yourselves is if you have a stable internet connection, take the placement test while you're still home. So anyway, that's one of the first things that you'll hear that's registration and advising related. Then you will meet with the professional advising team based on your major. I supervise there's about 28 people on our team. Those folks are here to help you walk through this process, not only orientation, but beyond. They know their programs backwards, forwards, and in between. And so if you have friends or family who are already at our university and they have ideas about what you should be taking because that's what they took, please know that the advisors have your best interests at heart. It may not feel like it because you don't know them as well just yet, but you will over time. And please make sure that you just are fully engaged with them and their recommendations. If you are a new student, meaning you are not coming to us with any college or university credits beforehand, you will be assigned to the advising team you work with for or your orientation or registration, but usually for your first year or until you would get admitted to your program. So they're good people to get to know right away because you're going to use them throughout. If you are a transfer student and you're bringing in credits with you, you may be assigned to an advising team or you may be assigned directly to a faculty advisor. It has to do with how many credits that you're bringing in and how far along you might be in your program. So professional advisors are going to prepare ahead of time. They're going to be looking at things like your math and English placement. They're going to be looking at if you have transfer credits and so forth. They use that information to make solid recommendations for what you take in your first semester as a Minnesota State Maverick. They will oftentimes recommend very specific courses, but there will be times that they'll give you some options. They'll say, for example, we may know that you need a general education course in Goal 9, and your major doesn't care what you take for that. Advisors might give you a short list of classes to think about. Students, I encourage you certainly, I know students like to look at when those courses are available, when they'd be taking them, how their schedule is going to look. But I challenge you to look for something that kind of grabs your attention more. That when that course is happening may not keep you motivated for that course the same way that content will if you pick something that's interesting to you. So please know that there will be times that they're providing specific guidance about what you need to take, and there will be times advisors are giving you some choice based on your area of study and your transfer credits. After orientation, so what happens is the week of orientation, typically about midweek, we have you talking to your advisors and getting more information about your program. And then that Thursday, either in the morning or the afternoon, you will come back to meet with those same folks in a computer lab. And that's where you'll get registered for your first semester. We know that that registration period tends to be stressful. There's a lot of energy around getting the right courses and everyone's a little excited. But we do our best to walk you through it and know that if that one's a little tough, it's okay because they're only going to get easier from there. So, but know that that's how those registration is built into your orientation schedule. Alyssa or Paulina, is there anything else you want to talk about while we're still in orientation versus after?
No, I think just what you pointed out, Sarah, it's going to be really important. We cannot stress enough how important it is that you meet with your academic advisors during orientation. They are really the ones who are going to give you the best advice and information on what classes you need. So be sure that you attend those mandatory sessions with them.
And I'm just going to follow up and say not only attend, but please be punctual during our orientation and anytime you're meeting with your academic advisor. Remember, at orientation, there are going to be a lot of you there, and our academic advisors they want to help everybody to the best of their ability. And so part of that is on you to be there on time so that when they have the time to help you, you are actually there. The advisors are incredibly busy during orientation in the first 2 weeks of the semester because all of the students need help. So be mindful of American time customs and come on time to all of the sessions.
Thank you both. Those are both very good points. And to the most recent one Alyssa made, advisors are booked pretty solid those 2 weeks, the week before classes start and the first week of classes. And that's why it is really essential that you get there when you need to be there, when you're told that it's scheduled. And then, after you've had some time, or if you have questions along the way, you see the picture on the screen in front of you. This is our advising team. They're a great group of individuals who want to support you and want to see you achieve the goals that you're coming to Minnesota State to earn. So make sure that you're getting to know them. we like to say, when in doubt, seek your advising team out. Basically meaning, if you have questions and you don't know where to go, if you're struggling with a course, don't be embarrassed. Come to us. If you're like, wait a second, this major isn't for me, we know that you have broader implications with that. So we will work with Kearney too on those pieces. But if you're not sure that this is a good program for you, it's best for you to stop and talk to someone. And the members of our team know some of the intricacies of these academic programs and can walk you through, okay, well, if you were to change that, this is what it could potentially look like. Would that take longer? Would it not? It really depends on your academic program, what you're coming here with, and so much more. So you make sure you want to just really get to know them, and so they can get to know you and help you through this process. That is all I formally have to present. I'm going to stop sharing just because it's obnoxious to have a screen up when two screens if you can help it. So I will just turn things over to questions and concerns, things that Alyssa, you're hearing, or others.
Yeah, we have a good question again. I'm not sure if this is the same anonymous commenter, but if so, good questions. So this person says, if the advisors advise a different course and we want to specifically take a um, different one, in that case, can we take what we want, or are we bound to take what the advisors say?
Okay, so the great question. Great question is right. So our philosophy here when it comes to advising, the professional advisors, faculty may have a different opinion, but the professional advisors you first see, we take the approach of we advise, you decide. So we tell you what we think is in your best interest. We have reasons behind it. You are welcome to ask for clarification when you have it, but it will be busy those first 2 weeks. And so it won't feel like you have a lot of that opportunity. I would tell you that if advisors are telling you to take it, there's probably really good reason why you should take it. They don't tell you to take things they don't think you'll need. They don't tell you to take things that are unnecessary. However, ultimately, students, the power is yours. You do get to decide those things. You know, you will be more familiar with what requirements you have to meet for your international status. And so if you choose to take too many online classes or something like that, you could run into some issues. But advisors in university advising who work with students on their academic programs will always take the route that we're telling you what we think is in your best interest to take. If you don't want to take it, we're not going to force you to take it. But there may be consequences that you haven't quite realized. So I would encourage you to take the advisor information very seriously and know at the end of the day that if you make a decision to take something they didn't recommend, that there may be consequences that you also will face. Maybe not. Sometimes it depends on the situation, but I would strongly encourage you to know that these are folks who want to assist.
Yes, and I will just add, I have worked with the advisors now for about 6 years, and they have very, very good advice. They're going to give you actual advice. And while I know students love to get advice from friends, friends don't always know like how that course is going to affect your timeline. They don't necessarily know that maybe there's a new professor. So there's a lot of really good reasons to listen to your advisor, even if it's maybe going against what a friend has said, or someone who graduated from here long ago. Because we see that a lot.
Right. Well, and on that note, the other thing to know is your friend may not be in the same academic program, or the academic program may have changed since your friend was in it or started it, because sometimes our programs change from year to year. And or that friend may say, hey, that class really wasn't my cup of tea, or I didn't like it, but this one you'll really like. Well, that friend has different aspirations, has different experiences, has different strengths and weaknesses than you do. So we really try hard not to get in the middle of offering opinion when it comes to classes, because we know that that varies so much based on individuals.
All right, thank you. So everyone, please put your questions in. We do have a few more minutes. I see we have a question from someone in India who says, and I can answer this one, Sarah, but you might have some good things to add as well. So this student just completed their high school in India, and when they applied, they didn't send us the 12th grade mark sheet. So do you send this to us, or am I good if I'm admitted? I always say send us those updated transcripts because it will give us a better picture of what you've actually completed in high school. And depending on which type of high school you went to, we may actually be able to say, like, oh, like for example, if you went to a Cambridge institution and you took the A levels, we could talk about doing some transfer credit for that. So if you send us those final transcripts, then we have that information and can guide you more on the next steps. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. There might be a couple that pop in, but for those of you who are here, if you have questions on those placement exams, there are 2 video recordings on YouTube that you can go watch, and it's 20 minutes of all the information that you need, especially on how to prepare. I do know, I think one good question to ask Sarah before we head out, because I bet people are actually thinking this. But you did go through that 4-year plan and the study plans, but are there any other tangible next steps that students should be doing before they get here, other than the placement exam?
I think, doing your best to make your arrangements ahead of time so that you are here by the time that Kearney tells you to be here, whenever possible, like trying to arrange your travel so that you're going to be here on time. And because then if something happens, we have some room to take care of things. I think knowing that the U.S. Education system is a transition for all students, whether you are international or you were born and raised in the U.S., maybe even Mankato specifically. It's a transition because at U.S. high schools, I won't pretend to speak to all of the high schools that you all may be coming from, but in U.S. high schools, it is commonplace that students do a lot of their work during the school day and do little work, significantly less work, homework overnight between school and the school day. In college, that time is more on you than it had been. So for example, you won't be meeting as often as you probably were in high school, regardless of where you're coming from. You won't be meeting as often in class, but there will be expectations that outside of class, you are putting the time and energy in to stay on top of your coursework. So starting to mentally prepare for that and to recognize that time looks a lot different, not just because you're coming to the US from a place abroad, but because college has a weird beat to it. And so you won't be meeting in class as often, but that doesn't mean that you don't have responsibility to know the work. And so I encourage you to start thinking about what kind of routine do you want to set up for yourself? What kind of things is important to you? I would advocate that you have some sort of workout plan, right? Some way that you're taking care of yourself. You're making sure you get sleep, but you're also building in some time to get connected. You're giving yourself some grace because you'll come here and it will be exhausting at first. So you want to take care of yourself, but you also want to make sure that you're taking the steps that you need to make the most of your experience here. We have a lot of great student organizations. We have a lot of ways to get connected. So we want you to really have an enriching college experience. And there's so many ways you can do that. I have not graduated from this institution, even though a lot of the people I supervise have. But I will tell you that I feel very strongly that Mankato is a great place to find your place. And so I hope that you'll make the most of that. And so just starting to mentally prepare for the changes that are going to happen, I think it'd be maybe where I'm leaning. Were there other things you were thinking about, Alyssa?
No, I think those were really good ones though, because I think students, we don't always think about those sort of changes that come with this transition. So thank you. One question came in, and I think this will be our final question for today. Um, and I'm surprised I didn't think of this one actually. But the student says, if I want to change my major, do I need to talk to my advisor, or is there someone else I need to talk to? And then can they change their major during orientation week and register? So I will just say quickly, you can change your major during orientation week and register, but Sarah is going to have more information on the other the other
Yeah.
piece.
So in terms of the actual process to change major, when you come through orientation, that's where you're going to declare your major with the university. You have other expectations through CVIS and other things, but at the university, that'll be the first time you actually declare something. So if you've said something on your admissions application, you've said something somewhere along the way, know that we'll actually have you formally declaring at orientation. So if you had something different, then you need to change it. That's not a problem at orientation. As you move past orientation, if you have those moments where it's like, this isn't the right program for me, we have an online tool that you complete where you go in and you make a request to change your major. And then that online tool is very simple in the front row for the students, but it goes to different places on the back end. And we use that information to actually change your record here at the university. Now, what I'm not aware of or not as steeped in is if you're changing your major, but you were granted a visa to study one thing, what requirements or what you'll have to do with the Kearney International Center and others to get that major changed.
Yeah. So our number one thing is always to make sure that your student record is accurate. So students, first, you are always going to do the process that Sarah has just outlined. So you'll change your major using that online tool. And then actually we get informed through our own system. We kind of get our own little nudge that says, hey, Cheeto has changed his major. And then your advisor goes in, double checks to make sure that everything is still good to go on your CVIS. And only, and Paulina, I guess you're the actual advisor, not me. So maybe you should say this, but it's usually only if there is an action that needs to happen will your advisor reach out. But usually it's pretty seamless. Is that true, Paulina?
Yeah, all of our systems are pretty good at communicating with each other. So we'll, as long as you follow what Sarah said, that will automatically inform us of that change, and that will be reflected in your CVIS record. Yep.
Do they automatically get an updated I-20, Paulina, or would they request one?
They would have to request one. So, and you would do that through your Teradata portal.
And all of this will be talked about at orientation. So everybody, you got a lot of info today. This is one piece you can kind of put in the back of your mind. I would prefer you remember registration and placement testing information today. All right. Well, those are our questions. Thank you, everyone who attended, but a really big thank you to Sarah. We really appreciate you coming and talking to international students. Okay, so I just had a question pop up. So
Okay.
there are holds on their account because of the International Student Insurance and the International Student Office. So how can I resolve them? Well, you get those resolved when you come to campus and do your check-in and pay your health insurance. So all of those items are resolved once you arrive on campus and make those payments. So you'll
Just so
come.
you know, domestic students have similar things that they have to do too in order to get registered. We just make sure this is our way of touching base with everybody and ensuring that they've done the right steps.
Yes. Yeah, there are so many good questions. Everyone, you're doing good at looking into processes and trying to make sure you're informed. So kudos on that. But yeah, with that, any final words or suggestions, Sarah, before we log off?
Just be excited about getting here and know that you've got a great team of folks around you in the Kearney International Center in academic advising, but make the most of your time while you're here. We are a good school with lots of rich opportunities, and so we hope you'll make the best of it. And are super excited to get to meet you here in, well, a few weeks, but a little bit more than a few weeks, but still soon. So
It's very
excited
soon.
to have you join us.
Awesome. Thank you. How about you, Paulina? Any last final goodbyes?
No, just kind of echoing what Sarah said, we're excited for orientation. That's usually a really fun time. There's a lot of, I think there's really good energy. Everyone is really excited to be here. We're excited to have you. So yeah, just come ready. Weather should be nice in Mankato during that time. We have lots of really fun activities planned. Yeah, we're just looking forward to meeting all of you in person.
And if you've seen, I don't know if it goes international or not, but on our national news, there's been a lot of attention to the fact that we have a dam south of town that is not doing so well. But know that even with the water, we're in good place. Campus is as dry as it can be, and so no worries about things here. But if you want to see interesting footage, the house that was next to the dam went down, I think, this morning. And
Yeah,
it's both really sad, but really incredible to see the magic of that water.
we have a Telegram channel, and I should send that video out for individuals to see on there. But yes, thank you for bringing that up, Sarah. If you are hearing things on the news, we are all safe here and we're taking precautions needed. And things should hopefully, fingers crossed, be back to normal in August when you are all going to come. So, all right, thank you. And everybody have a great day or night wherever you're at.